channel, Paradigm Review Show, the #1 show in interweb programming. Today we've got Game of Death, which is going to be an interesting conversation because there's like probably 4 or 5 versions of the film out. I haven't seen the 4K by what's Arrowhead, I think is the company, or Arrow something. It's I do have that trailer posted below in the description though. Gaz Mosh, what up, bro? We're currently dual streaming on at Mosh Shinobi, so go pop over there, give Gaz a sub. Trying to think of channel news, Gaz. I don't really think there's much other than we're doing for a few more dollars next week, next Saturday. So Clint Eastwood makes his return. What up, Slip? So yeah, just giving you guys a few seconds for everybody to populate in, but feel free to jump in the chat with, your favorite Bruce Lee movie, or if you want us to cover something else at another point. I think we definitely have Enter the Dragon on PXF Classics list because Enter the Dragon is ridiculously epic. So without further ado, we've got our special guest here with us. He's got a few different channels. Greg Fernandez, what up, bro?
What's up, guys? How are you?
Great.
Awesome.
All good. Good to see you, man.
Great
Always
to be here.
Pumped up to talk Bruce, talk martial arts, talk 70s, grindhouse films. So I know. I mean, we can kind of bounce back and forth, Greg. I know you really want to cover like the original material, which Bruce Lee was supposed to direct it, obviously unfinished, but then there's the 120 minutes or whatever they shot, and then not that much of it makes it into this Game of Death film that gets released. So
13 minutes made it in, I believe. 13
which
minutes.
is insane, you know what I mean? I'm trying to figure out where the rest of the original film went, because it obviously didn't go to the theatrical release that they gave it.
Hopefully we see it one day.
I think it's in a vault in Warner Brothers Studios basement, pretty much. So there's at least one version that has about 41 minutes. So we have about 41 minutes of that. But yeah, there's definitely more. And even those 41 minutes are some of the greatest 41 minutes in martial arts history, I think.
I agree.
Right off the bat, what I think is so interesting about Game of Death, especially when we get to the last 30 minutes, for obvious reasons, but it's one of the first style-on-style movies, and it was Bruce's vision to, he was always interested in mixing different styles. I guess one of the first pioneers of MMA, and there is even some scenes like that, particularly his sequence with Kareem when they're going back and forth. There's a bit of groundwork. So to see, hopefully if we could get to see that 40 minutes included, maybe we could see more of those engagements, possibly more style on style. So yeah, hopefully one day we do that. But
if you have this movie, this Blu-ray, on the back of it is a warrior's journey. There's a bonus movie on that. It covers those 41 minutes.
Oh, right.
I think I do have that Blu-ray.
Yeah.
I think I
and
do.
There's also this book here too by Bruce Lee. It actually covers the whole story, and not by Bruce Lee, but this is about Bruce Lee's about Game of Death. It took me forever to find this thing, because I want to know everything about this movie. This would have been the greatest movie. I think with artificial intelligence, I think they can actually do it now. And I'm not a big AI guy, but I think if we could use it right here and maybe get this thing done.
Yeah,
to do it the justice. Yeah,
there's always been talk of like Bruce Lee's return and coming back as like I just don't see it to make a feature film of Bruce now. I think the only way that the studios could prove it to us is exactly what Greg just said. Yeah. Go back, get all that Game of Death original footage, and then fix that. And if it comes out like close to what Bruce would have wanted or close to what was on paper, then it's like, okay, maybe they could do something more. But if their plan is to just like make Bruce fronted martial arts movies, or even have him as a character in other martial arts movies, I just don't see it. Because if he pops up randomly, it's like what's going? We're just not ready for it yet. Now, if they could create Game of Thrones and fix it. I mean, Game of Thrones, Game of Death. There it goes. Blooper #1. Feel free to keep tracking.
Gaz is in there, man.
Yeah, feel free to keep track of the bloopers in the chat. But Game of Death, if they could go back and fix that, then I think they'd have more of an argument of like. But I will say this, Greg, I still think Bruce's daughter needs to sign off on anything that they do, because it's like to do it without approval from the family is just like in bad taste. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think.
Isn't the Game of Death? Isn't the first one that's kind of bad taste, right? I mean, I know we're going to get into that, but it can't be any worse than that.
Well, I'll give you what's a bad taste in that movie. So having the live action footage
I think I know which
Bruce's funeral, okay, fine, because that's like a one-off thing. It's going to be nearly impossible to recreate that. Showing Bruce's body in the casket, I think, of all the continuity issues in this film where it's just like Bruce is looking one way and then it just jumps to a completely different scene, which happens 5 or 10 times in this film, that's something that could easily be cut out. Like, we don't need to see like or whatever CGI his face or body double his face, but like, yeah, showing Bruce in the casket, like, what the hell are you guys doing? Now, I will say Robert Klaus, who I think is the director of Enter the Dragon? So that's why he got pulled in for this. There's the film actually goes on to make like decent money, which even though like it gets pretty subpar reviews, you know what I mean? So it's like, we all know what it comes down to for the studio, right? The bottom line. So they're like, well, in their opinion, they're like, well, Game of Death did pretty good the first time. It's like, that's not the way to look at it,
Yeah, there's another scene. I'm going to loosely gloss over this. If anyone's seen the film Notable Times and you followed Brandon Lee's career as well, you know exactly which scene I'm referring to, where now when you watch it, there's sadness attached to that as well, because
the bullet fragment in Billy Lowe's face, like that's exactly. I think we all thought of Brandon, right?
Yeah.
Like Greg obviously knows this thing. Yeah, which is that kind of foreshadowing for the Crow production is, oh man, it's hard to stomach that. It is.
Yeah, that was a difficult one for obvious reasons.
Yeah, for them to have that on film and then to what happens to Brandon, it's like, and that's almost exactly what happened to Brandon. Unfortunately, I mean, Gaz and I, you guys can go back and see our Crow review. So the synopsis of this one: a martial arts movie star must fake his death to bring down the syndicate that's extorting him from other celebrities, including his pop singer girlfriend, for protection money. And I will say, Greg, like, I didn't mind that plot that much. Like, I thought the plot was actually working. It's just like they took all this random footage from random places and then made this abomination of amalgamation of films that is just like all fragmented. But like overall, I think it could have worked. It doesn't. Why it doesn't work? Well, we're going to get into that. It's the body doubles, the voice doubles. What's amazing is they took all that footage from Way of the Dragon, like the Chuck Norris fight, which has absolutely no reason to be involved in this movie. Like, it's supposed to be like him on set, like as the actor, although it's like footage from another movie. Okay, whatever. So why didn't they just take Bruce's voice samples from his other movies for the key eyes and the whoops? Instead, they have like some other guy doing it. It just doesn't work. You know what I mean? Like, given they had all those audio tracks from all the several other films he made, it's like some of the decisions just didn't make any sense. It's probably studio decisions, if I had to guess.
I think it was because they were in Chinese, and so it wasn't really Bruce Lee who was doing the English audio in those other movies. That's my guess.
Oh yeah, that's possible.
Yeah, I think so.
What up, Jeff? We're just talking some Game of Death. So this is what I got, y'all. It's one of my packs from back in the day. Obviously, am I holding that the right way? No, I'm not. It's so you got the Big Boss, Fist of Fury, Way of the Dragon, Game of Death, and then Game of Death 2, I think, is some abomination with body doubles. I probably did watch it back in the day. Don't remember anything about it now.
I didn't even know they had that. No, I've never seen
it. It's not Bruce. So what they said is, like, after his death, like the Bruce exploitation genre is created, which is like all those other guys like body doubles using his name and making these like pseudo Bruce like B movie grindhouse movies.
Even in the original No Retreat, No Surrender, where Bruce comes back as a spirit, plays Sifu to mentor the guy, happens in there. And then, as you said, all those notable B movies, I've seen some of the trailers for them. Really bad taste and horrible. Literally, there's one with a guy jumping out of the ground, and that's all I'm gonna say.
Oh jeez, that's like the beginning of The Crow when Brandon like pushes the casket open. So I don't know where you want to pop off, Greg. Do you want me to just run through what the original plot was supposed to be here on Wiki? Greg can jump in with any feedback he has on this stuff. So it's a really long wiki, guys, because there's like 4 or 5 versions of the movie. So we'll go to original film. Plot. The original plot involves Lee playing the role of Hai Tien, a retired champion martial artist who's confronted by Korean underworld gangs. They tell him that the story of a pagoda where guns are prohibited. The pagoda is under heavy guard by highly skilled martial artists. They are protecting a stolen Chinese national treasure, which is not identified at all in any surviving material, held on its top level. The gang boss wants Hai to be part of a group of martial artists he assembled to help retrieve said item by fighting the Guardians. This is the boss's second team he's sending in. The first team he sent was nearly wiped out. They forced the reluctant Hai to participate by abducting his 2 younger siblings, along with 4 other martial artists, 2 played by James Tien and Qian Yuan. Hai battles his way up a 5-level pagoda. The team encounters a different and stronger challenge on each floor. As originally scripted by Lee, Hai and company enter the temple grounds where the pagoda's base. They fight 10 karate black belts. Inside the pagoda, Hai's team encounters a different opponent on each floor, each one more formidable than the last. The other fighters assisting Hai are handily defeated by the pagoda guardians. As they're not skilled as Hai, the guardian in turn must be defeated by Hai. At the pagoda raid, Hai's group was to fight 25 floor guardians. They had Bolo Young as Sensei Gaz, Lam Ching Ying, Yuan Hua, Unicorn Chan, Bi Chan, Wu Nagan, and 14 others as the 20 black belt karate fighters, ground floor guardians. That sequence was never filmed. And then they have more about the rest of the guardians. So ground floor Korean Hapkido Master #1, first floor guardian. Taki Kimura as praying mantis style Shifu, second floor guardian, was never filmed either. Dan Inosanto as Eskrima Filipina, third floor guardian. And Ji Han Jae as Korean Hapkido Master #2, fourth floor guardian. Obviously, you guys know who the fifth floor guardian is. It's obviously Kareem Abdul-Jabbar as Mantis. Hai would defeat all 25 formidable masters after his fellow raiders were taken down by each master of the floor. The last one being James Tien's character. He's beaten by the final guardian, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And they kind of got that sequence in there. A giant fighter who fights with a free hand, with a free and fluid fighting style similar to Hai's Jeet Kune Do. Because of the Guardian's great size and strength, in addition to his potent martial artistry, he can only be defeated when Hai recognizes and exploits his greatest weakness, unusually high sensitivity to light. So he's obviously got the aviators on, but I don't think that really ever comes fully realized. Immediately after defeating the giant guardian, Hai turns around and descends the staircase heading out of the pagoda. Despite all the talk of something awaiting at the top of the now unguarded flight of stairs, there's no mention of anyone going up to retrieve it. No surviving material explains how this affects Hai or his captive siblings. An additional character would be played by George Lazenby, being a spiritual guru.
Wow, James Swan.
Ridiculous. Involved in some sort of war, who would help Hai at the end. That seems super random, but I mean, pretty cool. Just a little quick bit about production, and then I'll do the warrior's journey that Greg was talking about. Although the pagoda was supposed to have 5 floors, complete scenes were only shot for 3 of the floors. The Temple of the Tiger, where Lee faced Inusanto, the Temple of the Dragon, where he fought Ji Han Jae, and the final floor known as the Temple of the Unknown, where he fought Abdul-Jabbar. Hapkido Master Huang In-shik was slated to play the guardian of the first floor, a master of kick-oriented style, while Bruce's longtime student and good friend Taki Kimura was asked to play the guardian of the second floor, a stylist of praying mantis kung fu. The goal of the film's plot was to showcase Lee's beliefs regarding the principles of martial arts. As each martial artist is defeated, including Lee's allies, the flaws in their fighting style are revealed. Some, like Dan Inosanto's character, rely too much on fixed patterns of offensive and defensive techniques, while others lack economy of motion. Lee defeats his opponents by having a fighting style that involves fluid movement, unpredictability, and an eclectic blend of techniques. His dialogue often includes comments on their weaknesses, and then this is what Greg was talking about, Bruce Lee, A Warrior's Journey. Several years later, Bruce Lee historian John Little released Bruce Lee, A Warrior's Journey, a documentary revealing the original footage and storyline of the Game of Death. The documentary also includes a fairly in-depth biography of Lee and leads into the filming of the Game of Death. Originally meant to be a documentary in its own right, it can now be found on the second disc of 2004 special edition DVD release, Enter the Dragon, along with a documentary, Bruce Lee, The Curse of the Dragon.
Great stuff.
So, yeah, I know that was long, but yeah. That's what Slippy's saying. 5 levels originally, only 3 filmed. Yeah, I was so right before we came on, Greg. I was watching that A Warrior's Journey you sent me, and it definitely gives way more context to the fight because, like in the movie, we'll call it what's out there in the ether when it shows Kareem Jabbar do that when he does that long jump and grabs the guy by the head and then like chokes him and throws him down the stairs. It kind of makes no sense in the movie because they're saying like, oh, that was another martial arts actor that went to the temple before Billy Lowe. And like in my mind, I was kind of thinking like, it doesn't make any sense continuity wise, but obviously in the actual fight, it was Bruce and his 2 boys. So it made way more sense with that dude going up the stairs before High. So yeah, it's like, I recommend everybody watch that because it will actually kind of explain to the fight to you. Whereas you watch the movie, you're like, what's going on? It shows like Kareem just like assassinating these random dudes before Bruce even gets up there. You know, that was kind of my takeaway.
Yeah, and that's I think that's one more reason why so much footage is actually missing is because it has the other 2 guys in the background. One of those guys was Bruce's stunt actors or whatever they call it. Yeah, stunt double. Yeah. And then the other one was a guy who was, I believe, in almost every other Bruce Lee film. James, I think it was James Tin. James Tin is in just like every other Bruce Lee film. And the guy who was supposed to be the master of the very first floor, if you watch The Way of the Dragon, the guy towards the end that is kicking everybody, he's actually supposed, and there was some footage shot of him outside just kind of kicking the crap out of a bunch of people. It's really good stuff. This movie would have been awesome.
Yeah, dude. So I wonder, like, since you raised the question, Greg, I wonder how they would handle it. Like, obviously none of these guys are the same age. They were at 75, 78 or whatever. So I wonder if they would try to just get like new people that have the style down and then try to like maybe CG, like AI, the faces, like you were saying. It'd be interesting, but yeah, I do definitely agree. Like if there's a film to fix with AI, it's definitely this. And, you know, now's the time,
Now's the time. Yep.
It's just so ahead of its time. Like I said at the start, Bruce wanting to showcase, just said there, Ross, the strengths and weaknesses in each style. One of the first style films. Folks, if you find the film a little bit too disjointed and difficult to watch, the temple sequence is definitely what saves the film. And that's worth watching for that reason, because you see Bruce when he's going up against these guys, he shows the thought process of how am I going to overcome this style? What is the weakness? Even if he experiences difficulty himself. And that's fascinating to watch. Something I've got a question for both of you. I know this is a little ahead, but as we mentioned, Kareem, during that fight, spoiler, there's a part where he grabs Bruce and pulls him down onto like some broken pottery or something. Now, seeing as this guy obviously is going to have good hearing, but he's no sight, that was the only thing that stood out to me in that fight, and I wondered if I'd missed anything. How did he kind of know where that broken pottery was to pull Bruce down? Did I miss anything there?
When he picked up Bruce, I think he picked him up or something like that, and that vase broke or whatever it was.
Yeah,
that pottery broke, so he was able to take just that little piece of it. And yeah, that's kind of one of the weaker scenes, I think.
Yeah,
well, he's not blind, right?
Very picky. It was just maybe on instinct, possibly.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah, you're right, Ross. He's not blind. The reason why he has those glasses
to light.
Right. Yeah, sorry, Ross.
That's how Bruce actually beats him at the end. And I don't think they show it in the game of death, but in this other version, the 41-minute version, it actually shows where Bruce Lee knocks his glasses off, and then they show his eyes, and his eyes are red, and then Bruce starts punching out those little the little wafer thing, whatever they are.
The windows or whatever. I think they should have kept that in there because it would have gave way more context to him defeating the final boss with the light sensitivity, which it's almost like a vampire trope, right? Like, like start popping letting the sunlight in, and you know what I mean? It's like, I think it would have worked, you know what I mean? Again, the movie's so convoluted of like, the big problem is the villains are extremely cliche, and because
entertaining though.
unintentionally comedy at 10 out of 10, but in terms of acting and carrying the story, obviously, because they are so reliant on the Bruce body doubles due to Bruce not being able to finish the principal photography, you get like 75% villain scenes, like driving around in cars just talking crap, and like none of it is really strong enough to, like, if you were to watch Enter the Dragon, you know, or any of these films where Bruce is the clear lead, you know, it's like you don't have that charisma of a leading man the way Bruce is. That being said, though, there are some good fights. When Billy Lowe gets jumped by the motorcycle gang and they're breaking the like all the wood posts on his back and stuff, that first fight in front of his girlfriend, then obviously the warehouse fight is actually pretty sick too. Wouldn't rate very high on realism, but like definitely an entertaining fight. Like that one time, so when he switches on the yellow jumpsuit and the motorcycle, and that one like goon is like, take your helmet off, and then he just comes at him with the wheel and just pummels the guy in the face. It's like, if you thought that was the dude, wouldn't you, instead of like trying to radio in, wouldn't you do something to fight back? It's like he's driving straight at me and like, oh, you're radioing in like an idiot.
He's a bit hesitant, wanted a closer look before I made his decision.
Yeah, you're gonna let the dude just like straight up pull up on you like that, like, oh, well, okay.
There's one other moment as well where there's a comedy scene, I guess, in fights, is when he. Bruce confronts Bob Wall after fighting Sammo Hung in the ring. He's in the locker room. Aside from someone becoming his new girlfriend in 2 seconds, which was amusing. Hey, take plenty of pictures of it. Yeah. But did you see, Ross and Greg, that kind of Street Fighter moment, the Chun-Li kick, what they've done to show it like... Oh. Yeah, there's a scene where he's fighting Bob Wall and they kind of like show Bruce's body double as if he's kicking really fast. It's kind of like with if you're doing a mid to high roundhouse and you say you're going to do a fake and then you go up high. It's kind of that, but increased really fast, and it looks like Chun-Li's blitz kick from Street Fighter.
So, I think I did see that. Yeah, I think I did see that.
It was quite amusing.
Yeah, it was a decent kick. So that locker room fight. So first of all, like Miller, right? Carl Miller, like they said he was a heavyweight. Like that guy didn't even look like he was even 205. So I was like, what weight classes are these? But like that. So obviously Bruce sneaks in with the old man beard disguise. Absolutely hilarious, by the way. And that's a decent fight too. That's a pretty entertaining fight.
Obviously, only that part,
kicks him into the locker. Yeah. But they beat the crap out of each other. But yeah, I was trying to figure out, like, he just won his heavyweight championship of the world fight, and I'm just like looking at this dude like, bro, that dude's probably barely 190. Like, what heavyweight class? Because heavyweight in UFC now is like 225 to like 250. Yeah. Those guys are way bigger than that guy. Yeah. You know what I mean? But anyway.
Bruce, it's a dude from it's Bob Wall, a dude from Enter the Dragon as well, isn't it?
Oh, nice.
From the famous, isn't it? Boards don't. If I remember this correctly, boards don't hit back. So the fight with him,
yeah, boards don't hit back.
Yeah, he punched through the that was like the wooden bench there in the locker room, right?
Yeah,
he punched through it. So yeah,
it's
like good.
I was going to say it's quite a good scene, and it's quite grimy for its time as well. I know it's a little bit of a mess for sadly obvious reasons, but the vision and the griminess of showing that is quite ahead of its time in that regard.
There are some good fights, like I said, like even the Bruce body double fights, like, you know, they're decent fights. It's my issue with the film is more like those dialogue scenes of the villains, and they're just like basically driving around talking about nothing. Like it doesn't do enough to carry the momentum into the fights. There's obviously the one where he raids the like the temple grounds with the koi fish pond, and he fights the guards when he's trying to strangle the doctor. Yeah. He kicks a few guys into the water and stuff, and he gets shot at, runs away. Like that's a decent fight too, as far as having the kicks down, you know, and the kind of Bruce Lee fighting style.
I've got to say, Greg, Dean Jagger as the doctor in this is probably my favorite character, because he's so intentionally hilarious right from his dialogue when he watches his pet fish, when he's feeding him with his line there, when he's shocked that Colleen Camp's character is hysterical, because as far as she knows, spoiler alert here, they've killed Billy Lowe. And then his conversation afterwards, the rude
Yes. Is there anything we can do for you? We want to take over your recording contract because we want to extort you. Oh, you're broken up about your boyfriend who died on set?
And the other scene just before that fight we're talking about, Bob Wall's fight Carl Miller, the famous, you lose Carl Miller. Well, they're in the car and you see the lion dance in front of them. This guy, Greg, he's straight out of a James Bond movie. He literally wants to unalive everybody. He's like, what's the holdup? What's the holdup?
Drive through the crowd.
So he was hilarious. Even his final scene as well, the way he fell through.
Oh, that was most entertaining death.
And he's still, and as he's falling, he's calling him the son of it.
Yeah, the funny thing, so he's following through the electric signs, and then 1 second later they roll credits. We're like, what happened to Billy Lowe? He fought his way up to the top of the temple. Doesn't explain anything. Just a straight up cut off ending.
No, that was horrible. Yeah, that was the worst death scene I thought. But I mean, once you realize that the main villain isn't somebody Bruce can actually really fight, I don't know what else. How do you end that? And those are the martial arts movies that drive me crazy. The main villain should always be like Shredder. It should always be I want to see that final fight. That's what I want.
Yeah. That's what you're waiting for, isn't it? That whole build up. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, it's funny because he gets up there and even though he fought the 3, dragons on the levels of the temple, also Doctor doesn't have any security left in his office, so he goes with a wax sculpture of himself with fake slit wrists to the point where Bruce pulls off his head. He's like, wax. He doesn't explain anything. He's like, wax. It's like a bad audio dub of wax. Okay, that explained it to me.
There was another amusing moment before that as well, some unintentional, hilarious dialogue, which was, I've just remembered, Billy Lowe's uncle, played by Roy, forgive the pronunciation here, Chow, I think. His de-escalation tactics, Greg, when Billy Lowe receives first visit, he just runs out with a machete.
Whoop. Looks like we lost our Gazzy. I'm sure he'll be back, folks. He got a little excited on that.
He punched the screen, and there it went.
he punched his internet out. That's the type of thing that happens on a Game of Death review. But overall, I mean, I guess I think we'll all come to the same conclusion that the best scene, obviously, is the surviving footage of that final temple fight of the last 3 combat sequences. Although it is pretty brutally chopped as well, as we were saying, from the extra characters that are originally in the scene with Bruce. But obviously, Nunchaku, the first fight, the Eskrima, sick. And even that bamboo spear that he had was pretty badass, too. Did you get excited, Gaz? What happened?
Yeah, I did. I took myself off the string and gave myself a KO because the gentleman villain guy as well, who has the cane, his fight with Bruce, when Bruce has got his leg on across his throat, Greg, the guy's dying
Okay, so
bad.
Let's talk about that. Go ahead, Greg. If you're gonna say
ahead.
Okay, yeah. So he fights the first dude with the stick fighter and nunchaku. Next dude, I think, has the gi, and then after he fights Hakim, aka Abdul Jabbar, that dude with the cane comes down. He's wearing a 3-piece suit vest with dress shoes and pleated pants. As if you were in a fight with Bruce Lee and you're wearing that Bruce Lee wouldn't kick the crap out of you wearing sports sneakers and a jumpsuit, because you're right off the bat, you're extremely restricted by those pants and that vest and those dress shoes. Yeah. So, and kind of like what Greg was just saying about the lead villains not being able to fight. So I guess he technically has a short fight with Bruce, but he's just fought 3 elite level black belts before that sequence.
And this guy's more of a challenge,
Yeah, you're not really expecting much from that guy, you know what I mean?
He's kind of, I mean, he does have some funny moments. The part, as I said, when we were talking off air, referring to the journalist, where he said, we may have to pay him a visit one time. It's the conversation with the doctor in the car. We have to shove that typewriter up somewhere you wouldn't want it to be.
Yeah.
As polite as I can put it. So, yeah, I mean, his speaking voice is good. His delivery, even though his character is cliche, is good. But you're right, when he's just faced these elite level fighters, had to think of, how am I going to get over this style? What's the weaknesses there? And you really do see that. And that's what's so interesting. And then you've kind of got this well-dressed gentleman with a bit of a hairy chest who can say some hilarious dialogue as he's choking for air. That's Yeah.
Like he comes down after Hakeem. Like you'd expect him to come down after like the first or the second dragon, because obviously Hakeem is the tallest with the longest range.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And or he needs some weapon, like Greg was saying, like how when Bruce fights the last boss in Enter the Dragon, the dude has the claw. You know what I mean? He needs something to balance the style, and like his crappy walking cane. I'm like, this guy's like 55. Like he's gonna fight a Bruce Lee in his prime. Give me a break.
And for whatever reason, they didn't have guns, right?
I don't know. They don't exist in this universe. But well, actually, so
just to
what happens when they take the shot at him? They take the shot at him in the film set. They shoot at him when he runs away from the temple grounds when he tries to choke the doctor. The sniper shoots at him in the outside the warehouse fight and misses on the motorbike, and he runs up and whips that guy's ass. So it gets up to the final pagoda, and all of a sudden guns don't exist. I guess that was because when you read the original script, Greg, they said that like the firearms were forbidden from the pagoda grounds or whatever. So I guess that was the hint to all of a sudden there's no guns in the final warehouse. Okay, guys, sure, whatever.
Right. And that's what would have made this movie so great, is because you didn't have those guns. You know, you had all of the movie. This would have been at least 60-70 minutes of just pure fighting. Some of the best action ever. When you think about, you know, you have the whole first floor is just these master guys that can kick. On the second level, you got guys that can do the praying mantis, which on camera looks awesome. Can you imagine? And Bruce Lee does a little bit of that in this movie. He kind of goes there too, almost like he had learned by the time that he gets up to this would be the fourth level. He had learned by fighting the guy on the second level. So there's so much that is just left on the table. But when you read about what his idea was, and like you guys were talking about, it's style versus style. There's never been a movie that was ever made like this. This was it's still, even those 12 minutes, 13 minutes, it's still groundbreaking entertainment. I find it fascinating. So fascinating.
Same. I mean, I think, you know, I was already going to say that like Enter the Dragon is it kind of becomes the martial art, at least from the American Western martial arts production, the blueprint of like everything that we've seen in the West. Obviously, I think the same goes for this final sequence. I think I still have it up. What's it called, Greg? Journey of the
Warrior's Journey.
Yeah. I think the way to go would have probably just been release the last fight in its whatever 30 to 40 minutes complexity. Obviously, if you're a film studio, you want to release a film so you can sell a bunch of tickets and sell DVDs and VHSs. But I think it would have been more authentic. Maybe just like do a little intro from Bruce's family, and then maybe have like the director talk at the end, like somehow like the director's cuts are now, and then just to fill up some space, but be like, hey, this is like the authentic footage as opposed to Billy Lowe as an actor and the syndicates extorting him, which has nothing to do with what Bruce wrote.
And all that happened when Klaus came in, when they said, okay, we're going to get this guy who just made this great movie with Bruce Lee, and we're going to change the whole thing. But they had already had the whole story there. All they had to do was do what they did with that movie, what they spent like 60-70 minutes faking Bruce Lee with these cheap deep fakes, when all they really needed to do was start that film 15-20 minutes of just showing Bruce from the back, you know what I mean? Showing him kicking, and they had the whole movie there. I do not understand why they changed the concept of this script. It was there, and they had it all right there for them. It's just crazy. It's almost like a big FU to Bruce Lee, saying you're done. And you know, there's a lot of theories about Bruce Lee's death and everything. And isn't it crazy that Bruce Lee and Brandon Lee, their last two movies, it's kind of like it isn't really, well, I don't know if you would consider Game of Death Bruce Lee's last movie, would you? Because he had all that, everything that was filmed was actually done before Enter the Dragon, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's hard. It's kind of just like an uncompleted project, incomplete project.
Let me ask you this, Greg. If they had have done what you suggested and we got more of a complete version close to that vision, I mean, I still think it's ahead of its time, I do, as I've said. do you think the martial arts community and fans of Bruce Lee as well would hold this up in the same regard as Enter the Dragon for that reason? Style and style ahead of its times, showing all these different characteristics of fighters going against each other.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because they could have still used some of the great fights from those other films, Bruce Lee's second film. You know, that would have been a great scene for the actual first floor. It almost looks like it. It almost looks like the first floor. The Chinese Connection, which was I don't think that was the original name of that movie, but I think it was Fist of Fury that was later changed to Chinese Connection, which is a whole nother issue. But so there's if you're going to use footage of Bruce Lee, why not just use that footage? That would have been the great first floor. Bruce Lee walked in there, boom. Second floor, you could have kind of or just taken the second floor out maybe, or just showed Bruce from the back, because you have those other two guys there. They could have went back and had the two guys that are with Bruce Lee. They could have done most of those first 2 floor fight scenes too, and just had Bruce just kind of standing there, just how he really is in that first scene.
Hell yeah.
Where it's Bruce Lee, you know, right before he fights the Nunchuck Master, which is one of the greatest films ever. And I had looked up something, and I don't know if there's ever been a Nunchuck fight, at least up until that point. I mean, we've seen Bruce Lee use them on people, but have we ever seen two people use
somebody fight back
against each other?
Yeah.
I'm sure they've done it after that, but I've never seen them.
Yeah, good question. I wouldn't be able to tell you. Weigh in on the chat if you guys know your martial arts repertoire. And then I think it said Sammo Hung worked on this as well, right? I think he did some of the fight choreography.
He was. He was the guy. He played Lo Chan, didn't he? He was fighting Bob Wall in the ring when he was defending his heavyweight title, which was not a bad scene actually. And another hilarious outburst from Dean Jagger as the Doctor when he's shouting, "I have to change this, sadly, with it being YouTube. Unalive him!"
Yeah. No, for sure.
And then the other thing is, how did this movie end? How was it originally supposed to end? And I won't spoil it, but if you read this, you can actually find out. And it's only a couple sentences, but it actually shows how the movie was supposed to end. Because that's always been my biggest thing.
Yeah.
The last known footage that they have is not Bruce Lee going up those stairs. It's Bruce Lee coming down. So Bruce Lee's already on his way back down. He goes there, like you said, because his sister and his brother are kidnapped by the mafia. The girl who plays his sister, or who was going to play his sister, that was the other girl, and I forget what her name is, but she's been in other Bruce Lee films too. Bruce Lee's first 2 or 3 films there too. Absolutely. So you know, he definitely takes care of his. He's kind of like the martial arts Sandler. What's the guy? Adam Sandler, who you always see the same people. He's always got all the same people in his movies. Bruce Lee was doing that way back then.
Yeah.
So,
no. So it's crazy, man. It's like
your friends.
Yeah, that last sequence. It's so. I mean, we could talk a little bit about like stuff that's like derivative. Like I assume you've seen The Protector, Greg.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's
fantastic.
That concept is, you know, very close to Game of Death. Obviously, going up the restaurant and fighting up the levels of the stairs, and then obviously at the Buddhist temple, Gaz he fights the capoeira dude, the wushu dude, and that's like a page out of Game of Death of Tony Jaa fighting the different styles. Also, the Raid. I assume you've seen the Raid one, Greg.
I don't think I've seen that one. No.
Okay, definitely get that on.
Watch that, and we'll cover it with you.
Okay. Yeah, watch it. Let us know what you think. If you like it, you're welcome to come on and review it with us. Cool. It's considered the greatest new school martial arts. It's obviously Iko Uwais, who's that dude from Indonesia. He's kind of a big deal after Tony Jaa. It all takes place basically in a project building, and it involves kind of like the SWAT team. They do have rifles and guns and stuff, and there's some different like blade sequences, but it's very like, you know, the one building concept, we'll call it. That's like very out of. I think you would like it. It's more of a neo martial arts film, so a lot more like new school, modernized elements, but still Iko Uwais being the man nowadays. I think that was 2011.
Yeah, the second one's good as well.
Yeah, the raid redemption. Get that on your list, and if you're feeling it, we'll definitely bring you back up.
Awesome.
Each Slipknot fan, each level has a theme. Dan in Santo's level of the tiger, see him standing on a chair with a tiger skin draped over it. Yeah, you know what? I didn't catch the tiger sequence, but I caught the throne there that he was sitting on, which was fresh. And then as you pointed this out, but I want to re-highlight it. Bruce finally showing his ground game, much more grappling exchanges. I feel like we didn't see as much ground game from Bruce in his early career, the rest of his career. So I like how he takes everyone down and he's still throwing those kicks on the ground, has some of those holds. You know, he's got obviously chokes out Hakeem, but he's got some grappling holds. And again, as Scott said, I feel like that's the predecessor to MMA. You know, obviously.
It really is. I mean, his whole philosophy with training as well. The guy was open. I mean, even now you can still get, and this we could do a whole other show on this. All three of us, I'm sure, and there's people who have. There is still even now dojos where they are very close-minded. No, only our way. We can't bring in anything else. We can't adapt this. Very rigid. Well, Bruce was always thinking ahead. Was always open, and that's what I think is the beautiful aspect of this film, because as you rightly said, Greg, we hadn't seen that before, that style on style, even the nunchuck exchange. Yes, you see him using the famous singing Enter the Dragon as well, but nothing where he's got another opponent using that against him. So yeah, Ross, seeing those grappling exchanges way back then, right back then, he's already looking at that and saying, right, here's another style. And I can't help, every time I've seen this film and it ends, there's just that sadness every time, you know, when they show you the shots of Bruce in his past films, and it's so, you're left with this feeling of joy of seeing his vision with style versus style, and we still haven't seen that fully, as you pointed out, Greg. That's the unreleased footage, and then the way it cuts off. And it's just such a deep level of sadness to it, and you can't help think what he could have gone on to have done after that, showing these different styles. We would have seen some of the greatest martial arts movies I think we would have ever have seen.
100%. And you know, I'd hate to say it, but when Brandon gets to the age that he's on screen, the ultimate epic of both of them together, you know, it would have just been. I don't think anything would have beat it. You know, like I don't know if anything would have possibly beat both of them. That would have been some sort of either Game of Death sequence or Enter the Dragon sequence of them fighting through a fortress together. Films to crap your pants too.
Yeah. I think we'd have been wetting ourselves for a very long time.
Obviously, 100%. Obviously, that would have been the magnum opus. You know what I mean? As Greg was saying, you know, him fighting through the dragon levels and then taking little bits of the hybridized style into the next level with him. So like, you know, him accumulating the knowledge in real time and then like having that fluid style to be like, hey, this is what worked on that level, switch it up. And then he's kind of like showing you in real time that he's combining everything into the final fight. You know, that would have been ultimately crazy too.
Yeah. Even when he first fights the guy with the nunchucks, on the first level, and I've talked about, you see Bruce's expressions and him going through the mental thought process, right, how am I going to overcome this style? You even see that from his opponents and thinking, well, this is a dangerous opponent here. This isn't someone I've fought before. This isn't working. And you see that especially in the nunchuck exchange.
Yeah, the reactions.
And that was really good to see that, because I don't think really, trying to think, he hadn't really I'm not discrediting any of the previous films or the sequences, but it was nice to see that on his opponents as well, that they're going through the same situation thinking, how am I going to overcome this? The style that I've trained in, say, for so long, this isn't working. Have I got anything else that I can go to? Bruce is continually adapting and he's progressing ahead of his opponent. So that was an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, it definitely expounds on that in the Warrior's Journey sequence that Greg sent me. It's on YouTube, so you guys can check it out. But as we read to you guys in the Wikipedia synopsis, Bruce's commentary on like, hey, the reason you're not gonna be able to win is because you have a rehearsed, you know what I mean, pretty much sticking to a routine. And he's like, I'm going to adapt to you in real time, and that's going to be the difference between us. Like, if he would have gone through every fight with that commentary, it would have been so sick, because just what is the leftover, I don't know what to refer to it as, the remaining footage that you have of like bringing the concept full circle. You know what I mean? It arguably could have been one of Bruce's best characters outside of Enter the Dragon. You know, it's tough to say with the unfinished film versus something finished like Enter the Dragon, but the direction they're going.
And he's very funny in it too. He's kind of like there's a couple good lines, there's a couple cheesy lines that Bruce throws out there, but you know, Bruce Lee gets hit with a nunchucka, and the guy goes, "How do you like that?" And then Bruce hits him back and says, "How do you like that?" You know, and there's a couple funny lines like there, you know, and there were some cheesy ones. You know, we're talking about groove. Let's move them over so it gives us more room to groove.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, honestly, you know, it made me think of the '60s of people calling things groovy, but like it is a little bit outdated. But like his point was pretty cool. It's like, I'm gonna have my boys back out so we can smash this room to pieces. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and those other two guys, I was really frustrated when I learned. Wait a minute, I saw one picture years ago. I was like, who are these other two guys in the background?
Yeah.
I had no idea who these other two guys were. And then understanding their story and the whole beef that they had, just the storyline between those three people was a pretty good one. Absolutely. And you could have just used a lot of the footage with those two guys, or go back and reshoot a lot of that stuff. Why they decided to say, nope, we're just going to can it all and we're going to start all over, and we're only going to use the last 12 minutes of
Bruce.
That is a crime.
Agreed.
You know what? If I had to guess, I'd say it's a studio decision. And even Robert Klaus, I mean, they brought him in, like we said, because Enter the Dragon was so good. But a lot of people make the mistake of just thinking like it's the director's fault. The director shot that, but they still get direction from the studio. So it's like they probably just didn't give him like director's cut level, like, you know, influence. You know, they're probably like, hey, we got to go sell this to China. Huh?
Do you think there was some ownership thing because of the whole golden harvest? It was their footage.
I was gonna bring that up. I was gonna bring that up. Probably.
Yeah, it could have been. And how many times have we heard from directors that have said, "I haven't been still," even when it's been a good film, and this director's even come out. There's been kids that said, "It's still not what I intended. It's still not what I wanted to do, but they wouldn't let me do this." Or there's one scene that would have made such a difference, and they insisted that I take this scene out of the film.
Yeah, so a big if you could give countless examples. What's his name? David Ayer. David Ayer as well. But you know, we talked about that before, guys, with Lauren. But a lot of people make the mistake of thinking like the director is the editor. Like sometimes, but it's not always the case. Like in the case of like George Miller and the Mad Max franchise, like his wife is his editor. So if they're editing it at home, Miller is standing there the whole time after he's just been on set the whole time shooting all the principal photography. So yeah, he pretty much and then that's Warner Brothers again. So that guy is established enough that like the studio trusts like, hey, George Miller's never really made anything bad. So, but probably more than 50% of films, the editor is an entirely different person. So even Robert Klaus or whatever case, he is on set, he films the entire thing, but then they send the footage to the editor. That doesn't mean they're going to use everything they sent them, you know, like Greg was just saying. So maybe a question for Greg, you probably have the best chance of knowing of the three of us. The Golden Harvest footage, did Warner Bros. Buy it out, or does it cover it in the book?
Yeah, they actually hid it for a long time, and they could not find it. They couldn't find it. And this guy John Little, the guy who is, you know, he wrote a lot of the books about Bruce Lee. He was able to, after years and years, it's like all of a sudden it just popped up. And so then we got the 30-minute version, then the 40-minute version. And even recently, there's been more footage that they've found. Yeah. And the theory is that, there's about 70, 80 minutes of footage. I'm like, well, they got the whole movie then.
Yeah.
They had about, there was one person who said they have about 80 or 90% of the whole movie done. And there are a lot of still shots that you will see where Bruce Lee has a beard on, and you could tell that that's after he, you know, is like in like hiding. Maybe there's footage of him, just other footage there too, and then other footage of people that he fought that they were training and fighting other people outside of this area. So it just frustrates me to no end.
Yeah, this definitely happens, guys, for sure. And just to explain it to the audience, so basically what they go with, since they don't have Bruce in 60% of this film, is they have like guys wearing the big aviators to obstruct the face, and then after he gets shot on set in the scene Gaz referred to, he has his face wrapped, and then he takes that picture and he draws this is my disguise. He draws a beard. Like, we're like, yeah, we really needed that explained to us. Later on, the fake beard. Later on, the body double comes out with the fake beard. So they just do all these things to obstruct the face. When he talks to Colleen, he's in the shadow, and they just shoot him with like the shadow across his face, and like he's definitely talking to Billy Lowe.
Well, I think one of the first scenes actually shows Bruce where it's like it's his head, but it's somebody else's body. Right, when he's sitting there, it's like after I saw that, I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be terrible. This is gonna be horrible."
Got off to the wrong foot there. Dude.
Yeah, it was frustrating. The whole thing is frustrating, but just those 13 minutes, I thought that it was so good that I bought that movie and I would just go back. I'd skip everything else and I would just always watch those 13 minutes, wanting more, not knowing that there was so much more out there.
Watch that last fight. It's interesting, for any of us that like watch Enter the Dragon, and then you see like Game of Death, you see like directed by like Robert Klaus, you're probably expecting like, oh, I bet this is going to be another Enter the Dragon. I bet this is just good as, and then what you get is like an amalgamation of every Bruce film, but 10 minutes of the actual Game of Death principal photography. It's frustrating, but so I mean, I still think that concept holds up. I mean, because you look on Wikipedia, there's an entire list of all the video games that the Game of Death concept has influenced. I guess there was a SpongeBob episode where they did something that was like going up the stairs to. So its influence is far. Obviously, we mentioned. Now I'm pulling a gas. My memory bank's been wiped clean. The Protector and the Raid Redemption. Dread, is that Dread 3D? That's the one building concept. They said that followed. So this goes on far beyond martial arts, guys. This goes into action, sci-fi, cartoons, animation, video games. There's quite a bit. What up, Pixie? You're back from the music festival. We're just talking some Game of Thrones. Pixie, what's your favorite Bruce Lee movie? Feel free to jump in the chats with your favorite Bruce film.
So with that said, I know there's sadly only the 30 minutes we see of Bruce's fights, but out of that, in the temple scene that we do see at the moment, it's a question to you both. Which is your favorite fight?
Ooh, it's tough. Mine would have to be the nunchucker fight, because I've never seen anything like that. And I used to be, when I was younger, I used to be able to, I could probably still do it. It's been a long, long time, but man, I've never seen anything like that ever.
And you, Russ?
Not so. I know that like Abdul is his one of his apprentices. He was one of Bruce's students, so it's pretty cool. I'd probably say maybe the second. Just like the Gi fight, just because it's like it's super technical. Because like the Hakim fight, it's not that. It's okay. He's a tall guy. He uses his range, but it's pretty basic. I don't know that having that range would do that much to fight Bruce Lee in a realistic fight, because I think the speed would be the real factor. And if Bruce is able to like close the distance on you and get close enough, what are you going to do to stop Bruce Lee? Like, you'd have to be like a heavyweight level like knockout artist to just land a massive right hook on his jaw and knock him out. If you weren't able to do that, I don't see how you would win a fight, even if you're tall, even with the range, because he just displayed the grappling in the previous fight sequences. So like he ankle picks Hakim and takes him down, right? So I'm just breaking it down from a realistic perspective. Like, yeah, for the first few kicks and punches, maybe Hakim's able to keep him back. And what after that? We saw he knocked Billy Lowe down a couple times, and then he's able to adapt to the style and get around the range. And after that, the fight is, once he gets his neck, the fight's over, right? So,
well, I mean, but you notice because you watched it, but in the 40-minute clip, there's a lot more to it, because the other guys come in and they also fight and they get toss, but
for sure.
But definitely there's something very special about that fight. Even filming it, how they had to actually slow it down. They kept telling him, okay, you got to slow it down. You guys are going too fast.
Too fast for the camera.
Don't get me wrong. I love the sequence. I love the room, the stairs behind him. Him using the height to jump up and grab the dude by his hair and throw him down. Like cool. All of that is amazing. And of course the NBA players. So Gaz, John Wick, Chapter 2. Having that European NBA player, the tall dude in the library, that's a reference to Hakeem being an NBA player. So again, this goes on far beyond Bruce Lee and Game of Death, guys. This influences martial arts action all the way to the John Wick franchise, which is currently going. Anytime you see a tall NBA player now in a martial arts movie, like that's essentially a Game of Death reference. But I'm not being critical of the sequence, Greg. I absolutely love it. I'm just speaking from Bruce being the master Sifu and Abdul being the student in a realistic fight. How long do you guys think Hakeem would last versus Bruce Lee? Right, in under 2-3 minutes, Bruce has landed a death touch on him, and the guy is severely wounded.
I think just for the film aspect, just wanted to show a very large, imposing figure. So how would he get past someone that size? But you are right. That is my favorite fight in the scene, because I like, as I've been stressing, I like the mental challenge, how he adapts, how he comes up over that, and I think that's good. And then it's probably pretty obvious, this isn't on the fight side, but I think my non-favorite combatant, just for his unintentional comedy, is the Doctor.
You like the Doctor?
I mean, that guy should have been in a James Bond movie. You really should. All he needed was a cat and stroke.
He needs to be in like a Naked Gun, where it's like a comedy spy film. Dude was hilarious.
Coming out again. I guess there's a new Naked Gun movie.
It's trailer.
It's Liam Neeson though. It kind of makes me feel like Liam's career is over, because like I'm a big I'm a big Taken fan, and I'm a big the dude is 60 whatever, but.
I saw the actual trailer where they're like showing son, and then they're looking at father, and they got like OJ Simpson's son, and he just turns to the camera like, really? Like, come on. I was like, okay, I gotta see the movie just for that.
Talk about bad taste. OJ is about like the worst direction you could go in for it.
But at least they go there. I thought it was great.
It takes balls to go there for sure. I agree on some.
Well, that's that scene on that trailer where they introduce Liam, where he goes inside the bag, and I'll just say how he reveals himself. You're like, did I just see that?
He's got like some skirt on or something. I haven't been following it that. Like, Liam is my guy, but I just feel like him doing action comedy is like at this level. It's not what it used to be. Going back up to when Billy Lowe enters the doctor's quarters, and he figures out that the mirror is actually that double glass hidden door. He opts to just go through a running jump kick through the glass, which I would figure would be a concern for getting your face cut or getting glass in your eyes. Wouldn't you just look for an object in the room that you could throw through it and then walk through?
Again, it's for film, isn't it? Just for showing that. Look.
Not if you're Billy Lowe. You're going straight through the front jump kick.
You got to kick that thing open, man.
Yeah,
I feel it. That's obviously what they went with. So I don't mean to make any calls for the director, but
that was terrible.
Did you enjoy that the Doctor's final sequence then, with it, as I said earlier, is falling through the electric light?
No, it's the best death in the movie by far. That was the best death. The only criticism I have for that scene is that they cut and they rolled credits like before he even hit the ground. Like, so anyway, this is the Doctor's death, and by the way, this movie's over. What happened to Billy Lowe? Like, did he reunite with his girlfriend?
the way that the dummy falls to me, I can still visually see it. It's hilarious. So bad. You couldn't get a stuntman to do that.
You can see like the signs, the electric signs getting torn up, but like the dummy double, like that.
It really looks like someone's just dropped a dummy off a building, doesn't it? It's falling.
100%. And not only that, like, well, the budget for this movie has ran out. By the way, here's some old Bruce Lee archive footage. Spin that on the credits.
Which they probably had to pay for, right? Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's all right. That's all right. I want to ask you this, Greg, then. We reviewed Warrior a while ago, which was inspired by the writings of Bruce Lee, and sadly that series got cancelled, and we're huge fans of it. I just wondered, did you ever catch it?
I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, man.
Yeah, you got to see that, Greg. Get that on your list. It's sick. absolutely sick. It's like 1800s San Francisco, right, guys?
Yeah, it's fantastic, and you see a lot of bare knuckle boxing as well in the movie. So it's showing you style on style. That happens a lot.
Oh, I love that. Okay, I'll check it out. I know I watched your guys' show on it. I think that made me wanna
get that going, dude. So it's 3 seasons, guys. And then they weren't.
Yeah, 3 seasons. There's even a brief. I think this was season 3 where they even kind of show you that the original kind of kung fu paradigm, with David Carradine, kind of like the amalgamation of an Eastern and a Western. There's a few episodes set in that, and it's actually pretty good. It's well worth checking out. If I say more, I'm just going to ruin it because I'm getting amped already. I love talking about this kind of thing.
Yeah, it just basically follows like the different factions, Greg. Like it's a lot of racial tension. Obviously, like the Chinese workers are there working on the railroad in early America. So you have like the Chinese syndicates, you have the Irish, the police, the Irish mafia, and everyone's kind of like fighting for basically like economic type stuff, but it's really well written. And then Bruce's daughter did sign off on that one, guys. She's like, I think a producer or something like that. So it does have pretty close connections. No Red Cloud. Sorry, it's grunge rock. It's a good guess, but it's actually grunge rock. But you guys know where I'm at on that one. So it's undebatable on this channel. I like them both. Game. There we go. Slipknot fixed it for us.
Game of Death Metal, man, yeah. But whoever wins, no one would be happy because we'd have all the fans from each subgenre.
No,
mine's the most brutal. Mine's the most true.
That's where I'm at. Yeah. So if they fix Game of Death with AI, like Greg was saying, update the soundtrack so you can have like the legacy, like 70s, the original. Actually, to be honest, the original Game of Death theme song is freaking amazing. Like the score, that's one of the best parts of it. So keep that, but then maybe update the soundtrack with like some modern music too, just like whatever fits. You have
to have Wu-Tang involved. I'm not just saying
100%
Wu-Tang hoodie. You've got to, because I still like
100%.
Probably the Iron Fist. That's great.
For that final fight, that would be perfect.
Yeah. You know what? If they got RZA involved, he could probably help them out with score and do some like Wu-Tang type beat, RZA type beats for the score. You know what I mean? Even if it's just instrumental, get some of that Wu-Tang martial arts flavor.
Yeah.
John Barry went crazy, dude. That. I mean, okay. Here's the problem. Like, it has one of the best theme songs of all time, but the sound mixing in this movie. I don't know if it was My Legacy DVD. I'm sure you guys noticed this, dude. There's parts where you literally cannot hear the dialogue.
The audio goes up and down.
I'm like, what did that guy say? Like, you know what I mean? Like the sound, this movie, if you want to call this a movie, this movie has some of the worst sound mixing that I've ever seen.
I've just pointed something. I've just remembered something else as well. And people think I'm going ultra piggy, but it's for the comedy. You know, when Billy Law takes the boat to Macau and says, right, wait here, I might be a long time. And the guy's like, I've got nothing else better to do. But he doesn't seem to pay the guy. And then when he takes a taxi, he doesn't seem to pay for the taxi. I mean, we're assuming he's paid for it inside when he's got out. But I just noticed that he was like going around everywhere without ever actually.
It was Bruce Lee. Nobody wanted to test him. It was like, hey, how much is that taxi ride? Like, hey, dude, I'm going into a massive fight. If you want, I could just kick your ass real quick before I go in there.
You're not going to argue, are you?
Yeah, no one's gonna street fight Bruce Lee or Billy Lowe or any of those guys.
Good point, though. I didn't notice that.
Yeah,
classic.
I guess in the taxi scenes, assumed he paid for it in the taxi before he's got out. But I guess I'm just being picky. But I noticed that with the boat. I thought, it's like, I actually paid him yet. Like, no.
Okay, so if we're going to talk continuity issues. So after he chokes out Hakeem, they do a close-up on Bruce's face because they just interject random close-ups on Bruce's face throughout this movie. And then the next thing is showing the wax thing of the doctor. It doesn't show him like walk in. It doesn't show like how he got in the office. Like, so they completely missed some transitionary scenes. Like, anyway, that one's the most prominent because it's the end, but it happens throughout the movie.
Well, I think the snap, if you know where the one part where Bruce Lee snaps his fingers, he's not snapping his fingers at anyone that he's fighting. He's actually snapping his fingers at James Tien. Because James Tien is getting his butt kicked, and so he goes like this, and like, okay, now it's my turn. I don't know. It bothers me so much that they had so much footage there.
They cut out his two homies.
Two guys, man. There was no reason for it.
I'm glad you sent that to me, because when I was watching it right before we came on, I was like, I don't know what's going. There's just like, okay, I get he's doing the one fight, but there was so much like convoluted like continuity issues. I was like totally lost until you sent me that, and I was like, oh, okay, he's reacting to his two homies that are in the room with him. You can't see any of that in the movie because they cut it all out for you. So it's like when the Gee guy smokes his boy and he like brushes his hair back and he's just like, you know, he jumps into the fight and they kind of go on and off. Like, yeah, there's a lot of lost like kind of chemistry there. But again, that's why you got to watch it. So I don't. This last one that came out, Greg, which was Arrow, whatever. Did you get a copy of this 4K, release? Because I'm just wondering how much they dropped on that one.
The 4K release of. Yeah. I don't think so. No.
But the final game of death on July 17th, 2023. Arrow Films released a 4K UHD Blu-ray box set covering Bruce Lee's films at Golden Harvest, including the set. 223-minute documentary on the production of Game of Death. The documentary includes all 2 hours of footage shot for the project by Lee before his death, restored from an interpositive. The documentary also includes an assembly of the footage alongside a newly filmed introduction to cover the plot elements that were never shot.
No, I need to get that. 200 minutes, you said?
223. So it sounds like that would probably fill in some of the gaps for you. So I might have to pick that up myself. If you guys check the description, the trailer I posted is the 4K Arrow Films. So probably they added some more context to what we're talking about here.
That's awesome. No, I got to get that.
Yeah, def.
Hells yeah. Do we want to do our ratings on this abomination Game of Death?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with 2 ratings though.
What you wished it was and what you got. like I said, it's not that bad given that Bruce is not in 75% of the movie. It's just like the continuity is non-existent. The sound mixing is probably the worst I've ever seen. And everything else that we've just talked about in the last 60 minutes.
But as Greg said, if we could get that whole version released of the footage, I think we'd be all having a very different conversation, probably be very excited and overall be a higher rating. Because I've got a feeling all of us are kind of going to be a rating for the temple fights at the end, and then they're a separate rating kind of for the other part of the film that we're presented with at the moment.
Real quick question from Slipknot. Does anybody know why Bruce Lee rubbed his nose before fighting? I Googled it earlier. The answer was he had rhinitis, itchy nose syndrome. Don't know if it's true or just AI testing. I mean, I always thought that was kind of just like one of his like personality tics, you know, like Toshiro Mifune had all those little tics.
I don't think it was his nose. I think he was going like this.
Yeah.
Like that. So it's more like
that's like grip on your fist.
Yeah.
Get how football players lick their finger before they.
Yeah. Good question.
Okay, I'll go first. So it's got a 5.9 out of 10 on IMDb. I gave it a mercy 6.
You're generous.
That last scene, as Greg said, pretty much makes up for all the crap you need to
watch. It really does, yeah.
Because it's so sick. It is that good, and you know, that's my take.
It's like the Darth Vader scenario in Star Wars Rogue One. That scene at the end.
Yeah, that final final transition. Greg, if you want to jump in with your 2 ratings, whatever you need to.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to give it 2 because those 13 minutes, I give a 10.
100%.
For the actual film, man, it's got to be like a 2, a 1 or a 2.
Yeah, pretty low.
Rough. It was rough to watch.
It's a rough watch. Yeah.
Yeah, the temple sequence, the fights at the end, 10 out of 10 because for its time, it's the first style on style. We get to see a bit of Bruce's vision for what he wanted to do for showing us that, contrasting the weaknesses and strengths of both. So that 10 out of 10. The remainder of the film, I'm going to give the Doctor the PXM Comedy Award, so I'll give him 10 out of 10 for being absolutely hilarious.
Yeah.
And the rest of the film, is a 2, I'm afraid. The same. Okay, no, I'll go on. I'll go back. I'll backtrack on that. I'll say 5.5 to be nice. But it's saved by the 13 minutes at the end. As I said earlier, if you've never seen it and you find the first, say, 70 minutes of the movie a bit painful, Just wait for the end. It's made up by the 13 minutes of actual Bruce at the end, and that's what it's worth. So yeah, that's where I am.
I hear it. If you can't wait, then you activate your fast forward button on your controller,
Definitely.
and that will take you immediately, or just skip to the chapter when he gets to the temple.
It's how I watch pro wrestling, all of them, because it's right. Anyone who knows this, if you watch Monday Night Raw, Friday Night SmackDown, poopy, because none of them are particularly great anymore now. When I watch them all, TNA, well, MLW, GCW, yeah, those are still pretty good. NWA is not bad either. But when I watch AEW and WWE, the beauty of DVR in it, and then I can just fast forward through it or watch it on slow motion, so it's like faster highlights. Do that with this.
So there is one thing that Game of Death 1 is better than, and if I had to take a guess, it's Game of Death 2, aka Game of Death 2. And I'm gonna read you guys the synopsis of this piece of shite. In the dark tale of revenge, Bruce Lee returns as Billy Lowe, whose best friend Chin Koo dies of a sudden illness. But suspicion of foul play arises when a gang tries to steal Koo's coffin at the funeral using a helicopter. Like, first of all, why would that happen anyway? Second of all, when Lowe's younger brother, Bobby Lowe, apparently he has a brother they never introduced to us in the first film, hears about the incident, he leaves his Buddhist master to investigate the truth. His trail soon leads him to the Castle of Death. Sounds a bit like Enter the Dragon. The last place Chin Koo was seen alive. There he meets and befriends an unlikely ally, a cruel and merciless arts expert who's Roy Horan, who is also the tower's master. But when the master dies under mysterious circumstances, Lowe ends up dueling with someone far more terrifying. Like, that basically sounds like it has absolutely nothing to do with one, and also the one plot really didn't have anything to do with itself. So there's that. Hope you guys enjoyed that enlightenment.
Yeah. You really sold it for us there. And because I'm stupid enough, yes, I will watch it like all the other terrible movies I do. I message you in the middle of the night saying
the only person I sold was Gaz. It sounds like Greg doesn't look too convinced to me, but
I feel like I just watched the whole movie. I don't need to see it. I got the whole thing.
It's like sounds like serious movie. See it
sounds like Screen Rant needs to recruit me to do like a honest trailer, like Ross's honest trailers of just whack gone wrong martial arts movies.
So here's a quick question, and I'm deferring this to both of you because my mental competence has just decided to vanish on me whilst we're live, which is so convenient. Have we got then? And this is a question in the chat. Have we got? Is the a Game of Death movie like a modern one? I guess that stands out. I know there's the Raid, but something where you feel. I know we covered Bloodsport, but I guess a really good, solid, grimy style. Any standouts both of you can think of? Oh,
you mean like in the vein of the concept?
Yeah.
I mean, I would just say The Protector is the closest thing I've seen that's actually good. Yeah. Hybrid style versus style change, and the restaurant concept.
Yeah.
Final fight. I mean, let me say there's. So I think they have a list here on Wikipedia. It had the Raid, but I guess like maybe the Protector didn't get on there. They got it's long. They have TV, comics, video games, cartoons, manga, and anime, music. I'd like to see. So I guess the Gorillas did some animation thing where the dude's wearing like the yellow jumpsuit. I guess Buckethead did some performance guys where he released a cover of Game of Death in 2006. He wore a yellow tracksuit.
Nice,
playing live. So it's yeah, there's some other things that are crap. Black Label Society, I guess they did a song Overlord where he wore the tracksuit, and I think Chan also wore the tracksuit in some of his stuff. So let's see films.
Kill Bill, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. That's the I forgot that. Yeah,
I personally thought Kill Bill 2 was shite, but the first one was pretty good. I mean, some of the stuff they have on here is pretty random. Like they have. They call the genre arcade movies, so obviously Enter the Dragon. I mean, Bruce Willis and Die Hard, I guess, because it's one building. I didn't really get Game of Death vibes from Die Hard. Jean-Claude Van Damme and Sudden Death, guys. I think that's when he's in the hockey stadium.
Yeah.
I don't know why they have Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade on here. That's an arcade movie that takes Game of Death influence, not from what I saw.
That's interesting.
The Raid 2011 Indonesian film was influenced by Game of Death. And then Dread, just the ones I named, guys. They have several films pay homage between Bruce and Kareem. Jackie Chan fights two guys in City Hunter. I don't think I've seen City Hunter. Chan fights two tall black actors. Rush Hour 3 reverses it by having Chris Tucker fight Chinese basketball player Sun Ming. Then the John Wick thing I named, player Boban Marja Jovanik. The French film La Tour Montparnasse Infernale. Haven't seen that one. I guess it's like it parodies one of the fights. I guess Karate Kid 84 reference Game of Death. There's not much else. I mean, I think they didn't mention The Protector. I think that's the closest, and maybe The Raid second. I would put up those.
No, interesting.
I still think Greg's right. You go back with the 220 minutes of footage you have, you just AI Bruce's voice. I mean, the voice should be no problem. That should be way easier than the actual visuals. So
absolutely, they can do it. Make it happen, guys.
Yeah.
When does BTTF come out? Not too sure what that is, brother man.
Back to the Future?
Never, right? I don't think they're not doing 4, right? I thought I heard they weren't doing any of that stuff. Also, without Marty, I have a real difficult time watching any Back to the Future content.
Well, what if you had the Spider-Man, the kid who played Spider-Man? What if you had him take that role?
What was Marty?
I'd be pretty hesitant. You guys know that that Jay Fox is not the original actor, right? They had that other kid that they kicked him off and replaced him.
Eric's.
Yeah, Holder.
Eric, something. I forget what his name is. Yeah, they fired him.
No, Stoltz, right? Is it
Eric Stoltz? There it is.
Yeah. So that story, there's an amazing. Go to Lauren the Priest channel, our co-sister channel affiliate, Average Superstar TV. He's got an interview with John Philbin of Point Break, where John talks about like being best friends with Eric and hanging out with Eric like the night that he got replaced, because the dude was like super down. And I won't blow the whole story here, but like they went out tagging and they just like graffitied all over LA, just like went on a rampage. Super cool behind the scenes story. I thought Kill Bill wasn't great. The yellow jumpsuit homage was pretty corny. Yeah, I mean, I thought the first one was better than the second one. I liked that anime sequence. That was cool, but it's not my favorite Tarantino's. Yeah. Those are probably my lowest two Tarantino's. Obviously, the best character was Pai Mei, who is from those old kung fu films. Tom Holland.
That's
Eric Stoltz. We finally got around to it with our semi-functional brain.
I'm quite happy to take the hit for all of those gaffes and I'm just thinking if we ever do like a serious discussion on something relating to this one time, I think we'll have to be on point for that. I've forgotten where I'm going.
Who's the star of these martial arts actions? Bruce, definitely Ali.
Yeah. Oh, it was influenced by this dude way back in the day. His philosophy, I know he was from thousands of years, whatever. They're like, I know the dude of what.
Confucius. I'm confusing Confucius. All right, folks. Any final commentary on Game of Death, or if you're gonna? No, I don't. It was supposed to be 4, and the last I heard, they axed it. Thank God. I mean, I love. So, I'll tell you what you could see Christopher Lloyd in though. Nobody, the movie with
Nobody.
Better Call,
isn't there?
Better Call Saul. Guys, what's his name? How's this happening? This dude is in everything.
It's
the guy from Nobody, the guy from Better Call Saul. It's he used to do Mr. Show with David Cross and Bob Odenkirk. There you go. I've got
to say this, guys. I've got to say this. Nobody 2. It's supposedly Christopher Lloyd in that as well. And here's one.
That's
RZA playing Harry Mansell.
He's in one.
Yeah.
They're both in one.
Oh, man.
So check out Nobody, Greg, if you like a good vigilante revenge film. It's Bob Odenkirk's first action movie. It's got RZA from Wu-Tang, got Christopher Lloyd, obviously from Back to the Future superstardom.
It's got release date of August the 15th as well.
Yeah, Red Cloud's been watching too many fake AI trailers. So they've talked about that Back to Future 4 forever, back when like Jay Fox could actually do it, and then the last I heard was nothing. But at this rate, guys, I honestly think like you go like the animation route, you know, like kind of like
TV series may work. Yeah.
They're talking about doing like that Married with Children reboot animated. I think that'd be hilarious. You know, they definitely got to do that. Love that show. Love Ed O'Neill. All right, guys. Gaz and I got other stuff to slide. I'm sure Greg needs to go about his day. That does it for Bruce Lee, Game of Death. We covered whatever you want to call that DVD that's out. It sounds like that 4K might have some promise, though. So shout out to Arrow Films. I'd be interested to pick up a copy of that. I know you're going to be trying to do that, Greg.
I am.
Anything you want to plug, Greg, before we roll, where to find you? I know you're on the Gray Stage channel. You're on your solo channel. The website, anywhere people can find your work.
Just Greg Fernandez Jr. You can find me out there. I just released my latest book called Kennedy and Trump. So kennedyandtrump.com, and that's where I have my latest book there. And then I got a couple other books that I'm working on very soon.
For sure. Good stuff. Yeah, definitely tap in with Greg, sub his channel, sub the Gray Stage. I think you guys have been doing some streams lately. Obviously Greg is, super big on the David Crowley case. Actually go into my backlog. You can see me and Greg do reviews of both versions of the original Gray Stage script. I know some people are actually finding that now. We did that a while back. So I think that was the first time Greg was on the channel. But yeah, whatever. Good, guys.
Yeah, we did talk to Greg before that, didn't we?
Yeah, we did the Crowley. We did the Crowley with Dan. And I think Greg has the footage backed up. Might have been on the old channel. I don't remember. We've been around a long time, guys. Yeah. We've been around a long time doing this thing. What was I going to say? Yeah, anything you ever want to come back on, Greg? Bruce Lee, or we'll do the
Showdown in Little Tokyo.
Showdown in Little Tokyo. We have to do maybe Rapid Fire as well.
Rapid Fire is another great one. I love
it's excellent, man.
Let's do those.
Greg, if you ever want to do any martial arts movies with us at all, please reach out, or other areas of interest. As I shout out at the end of every episode, we'd love to have you on with us, and we certainly could get into it on that. Folks, if there's anything out there that you want us all to cover, or you would like the three of us to cover, or we could get our boy back in, because my mind's so obvious gone. The dude who was with us when we covered Boondock Saints.
Crypt Rick.
Crypt Rick. Give me one on with all of us, so we could do like four of us talking about something. Just reach out, folks, and
Crypt,
and have a good weekend, everyone.
Crypt wants to do Boondock Saints 2, and I know Lauren likes that movie too, so I was going to pull them in. But yeah, we'll definitely get Greg for Showdown, maybe the Raid when he gets that screened. Check out Greg's channels, check out his website, check out the book, and we'll be back next time for a few dollars more. Clint Eastwood, Back to the Man with No Name trilogy. So I think that's going to do it. Greg, you're the man. Have a good weekend, sir.
Thank you, my friend.
Appreciate you, Cap. Man. Good stuff. All right, the chat's gone quiet, so it doesn't seem like there's any more questions for us. Game of Death, go check it out. You'll probably just end up watching the bonus footage on YouTube, or you can just throw Enter the Dragon on if you want to see a film that Bruce Lee's actually in. So. It's the best I can do, folks. We're working with what we got here, or even better, pick up the book that Greg showed, because that'll probably fill in some of the gaps for you. If you're as confused as I was with watching that film. Good stuff, gents. Paradigm Review Show, #1 in interweb programming. We'll be back next week, and then we'll have a week off. And then Invasion USA. I owe you Invasion USA, Pixie, so it's on the docket. UFC tonight. I'm going Sean O'Malley. Let's get the knockout, baby. Let's get the knockout. Juliana Pena, Venezuela Vixen. That's where I'm at. All right, guys. Everybody have a good weekend. We are out.
Take care,
like, sub, share, click join for a membership. Check out my Patreon. I just did the Crimson Circle review and how it relates to the Zodiac case. Shout out to all my subs and subscribers. Episode 5 and 6 of the Zodiac Files main series are coming soon. We're going to be filming that very soon in Northern California. That's all I'm going to say for now. We're out.